This is Atlantic Television Network. Welcome to Global News at 9 p.m. First, the highlights. Fubara dismisses claims of insecurity in River State. Wiki probes Suraki over unguaranteed comments. Court convicts Nnamdi Kanu of terrorism offenses. NUPRC approves $20 billion field development plans. Trump signs bills requiring Epstein files release. Team Nigeria wins gold in wrestling, athletics. Nicki Minaj calls for support to improve Nigerian artists. Welcome back. River State Governor Siminalayi Fubara has dismissed recent media reports suggesting that the state is unsafe, describing such claims as misleading and politically motivated. Speaking at an amateur golf championship in Port Harcourt, the governor said the impressive attendance of guests and athletes from across Africa clearly contradicted the negative portrayal circulating in the media, adding that although River State experienced around 6 months of disruptions due to political tensions, the situation has since stabilized. He commended the joint security agencies for their coordinated efforts in restoring and sustaining peace across the state and for enabling his administration to fully resume its activities, and also reaffirmed his administration's commitment to supporting sporting events, announcing plans to revive the Governor's Cup tournament. In his remarks, the General Officer commanding the 6th Division of the Nigerian Army, Major General Emmanuel Eric Emeka, said the prevailing peace in River State influenced the decision to host the tournament in Port Harcourt, adding that the successful completion of the event had reinforced their confidence. Cross River State Governor Basi Otu has cancelled the 2025 Agbo Kim Waterfalls Green Marathon, citing insecurity in parts of the state and across the country where killings, abductions, and attacks on churches by bandits have been widely reported. The second edition of the annual tourism-focused marathon, scheduled for this weekend in Etong local government area with over 2,000 expected participants, has now been put on hold, adding that the decision was necessary to ensure responsible planning and public safety. Declaring the cancellation on behalf of the Governor, Secretary to the State Government SSG, Professor Anthony Owan Eno, said halting this year's edition would allow for better security and structural fortification in the future, and reaffirmed the government's commitment to strengthening the long-term value of the event, stressing that the safety of participants, organizers, and spectators must remain paramount. Governor Otu expressed regret over the inconvenience to our athletes, partners, and organizers who had already invested time and resources, and also assured that the marathon would return stronger and more prestigious in the coming days. The governor reiterated his administration's determination to elevate the Agbo Kim Waterfalls Green Marathon into an event of national pride and global attendance once all necessary structures are in place. Ogun State government has warned youths in the state to steer clear of the dangerous drug practice known as Bluetoothing. The Executive Secretary of the Ogun State Agency for the Control of AIDS, Dr. Kehinde Fatongase, described the trend as a deadly act in which individuals inject themselves with the blood of someone who has just taken drugs, believing they can share the high. Fatongase gave the warning in a statement released in Abeokuta on Thursday that the practice exposes participants to life-threatening diseases and undermines public health efforts to curb blood-borne infections and puts young people at risk of HIV, hepatitis B and C, severe blood infections, life-threatening reactions, and overdose. Bluetoothing, also known in some parts of the world as flash blood, has been reported in countries such as South Africa, Tanzania, and Fiji, where health authorities link it to spikes in HIV and other infections, adding that the National Drug and Law Enforcement Agency, in collaboration with community groups and the Pirates Confraternity, recently conducted over 125 sensitization campaigns across schools, religious centers, and communities, reaching more than 30,000 people. The Ogun State Ministry of Sports Development has also partnered with youth-led NGOs like the Drug Free Project to use sports as a platform for awareness and rehabilitation. Christian Association of Nigeria has condemned Tuesday's bandit attack on the Christ Apostolic Church in Eruku, Kwara State, describing the incident as a heartbreaking reminder of the insecurity across the country and urged security agencies to act swiftly to rescue the abducted worshippers, while also calling for a transparent probe into how the incident occurred. A statement on Thursday by CAN President Archbishop Daniel Oko expressed sadness over the attack which led to the death and abduction of some worshippers during a prayer service. The State Police Public Relations Officer SP Adotohun Ejire Adeyemi later confirmed that one worshipper was killed during the attack while another victim's corpse was found in the bush. In his statement, the CAN president said the attack adds to the pattern of repeated assaults on Christian populations in vulnerable regions, adding that government authorities have often dismissed fears of targeted violence despite legitimate concerns and stressed the urgent need for stronger protection of places of worship, while highlighting on the importance of a long-term national security strategy to confront terrorism, banditry, and violent extremism in a way that guarantees safety and dignity for all Nigerians regardless of their faith. CAN also called on traditional and religious leaders to help maintain calm and prevent any form of reprisal, stressing that the collective focus must remain on justice, healing, and peace, pursued through lawful and constructive means. Benue State's Governor Hyacinth Ali has refuted claims that genocide is occurring within the state, insisting that while insecurity remains a challenge, it should not be misrepresented as the targeted extermination of any group. Speaking at a public function, the governor, who is a Catholic priest, stressed that his commitment to truth is rooted in his calling and moral duty. Addressing the claims directly, Ali said Benue State is not witnessing any form of religious, ethnic-racial, national or state genocide. Federal Capital Territory Police Command operatives have stopped an attempted kidnapping in Guto village, a border community in Buhari Area Council. Their men, numbering about 30, reportedly invaded the community and attempted to force their way into a residence. A statement by the command spokesperson, Josephine Ade, said police operatives from the Buhari Air Division Surveillance Team and the IGP Special Intervention Squad were deployed to the area, and the attackers opened fire upon sighting the security teams, leading to a gun duel in which 2 suspects were killed while others escaped into nearby bushes. Ade said one police officer sustained a gunshot injury during the exchange and was taken to Buhari General Hospital, where he was confirmed dead, while the Commissioner of Police FCT Command CP Mila Dantawaye commends the exceptional gallantry, swift response, and professionalism displayed by the operatives during the operation. Federal Capital Territory Administration will commence enforcement actions next week, November 26, against the defaulters of ground rent, land use change and conversion fees, as well as rights of occupancy and certificate of occupancy bills. Lere Olayinka, the Senior Special Assistant on Public Communications and Social Media to the FCT Minister, Yesom Wike, who disclosed this in a statement released on Thursday, said property owners who fail to register property transfers by obtaining minister's consent and registering their deeds of assignment will be penalized. Olayinka recalled that on May 26, 2025, following the intervention of President Bola Tinubu, Wike granted defaulters a 14-day grace period to pay outstanding ground rent, including associated penalties, and further publications were made on September 8, 9, and 10, 2025 in national dailies and online platforms on the revised land use and purpose clause of properties in the FCT. The notices, Olayinka said, gave 30 days of payment of penalty and violation fees of 5 million naira and other applicable charges for land use change and conversion, stressing that the FCTA will from Wednesday, November 26, 2025, commence enforcement actions on defaulters of ground rent payment and land use change and conversion fee, as well as the right of occupancy (RO of O) and certificate of occupancy (C of O) bills. Taraba State Governor Dr. Agbo Kefas has directed the immediate payment of salaries and outstanding entitlements to all civil servants cleared by the State Staff Verification Committee. The order came following the formal presentation of the committee's report, which marks a significant milestone in the state government's ongoing effort to sanitize its workforce after a comprehensive verification exercise carried out 5 months ago. The audit led to the removal of more than 7,000 individuals from the state payroll over issues including irregular employment, duplicated records, and undocumented service history. Commending the committee's work, Governor Kefas described the assignment as exhaustive, transparent, and courageous, adding that the team operated under intense public scrutiny and institutional resistance, and the findings underscored the need to protect the integrity of the civil service, insisting that no administration could progress when due process was ignored. He also said leadership decisions must be rooted in accountability, adding that posterity will always judge leadership choices either as a legacy of fairness or of negligence, and further directed the committee to review cases of individuals who may have been wrongly recruited due to administrative lapses and to design a clear pathway for their lawful re-engagement, provided they meet the required employment criteria. The Labour Party has inaugurated a new leadership for the Adamawa State chapter. This is coming after the party set in motion a 14-member state caretaker committee to oversee its affairs. While inaugurating the committee in Yola, the Deputy Chairman, National Chairman of Labour Party, Bishop Esther Goldmu, charged the committee to be guided by the provisions of the party's constitution in handling activities of the party. Giving her acceptance speech, Beatrice pledged a smooth transition with the purpose, describing the emergence of her committee as a child of necessity born to unite the party and put it on the path of progress. The Labour Party in Adamawa State has for many years wobbled with internal crisis, with erstwhile chairman Nicholas Christopher constantly challenged by party members who would not accept his leadership. Bauchi State government has expressed sorrow and sympathy to the government and people of Kebbi State over the attack on Government Girls Comprehensive Secondary School, Maga, in Danko Wasago local government area. The message of sympathy was conveyed in a statement in Bauchi on Thursday by the public relations officer of the Ministry of Education, Jalaluddin Maina, who recalled that gunmen attacked the Kabi Girls Boarding School on Monday, killing the vice principal and the security guard and abducting 25 female students. The Bauchi State government described the attack as not only a major setback for Kebbi, but also a painful blow to the entire education sector, while the Bauchi State Ministry of Education reaffirms its support and sympathy to the people of Kebbi and calls for collective efforts to safeguard schools and ensure the protection of learners across the country. Suspected armed bandits have attacked Tara community in Sabon Birni, local government area of Sokoto State, abducting 9 residents and injuring 1 person. The attack happened just days after members of the community's vigilante group were redeployed to Katsira, and the youths quickly mobilized to confront the attackers, an action that helped prevent a more deadly outcome. Speaking on the issue, the spokesman of the Sokoto State Police Command, DSP Ahmed Rufai, said the divisional police officer in Sabon Birni had not yet briefed the state's headquarters. And this is coming after fear-gripped Nigerians as terrorists go on rampage, target large gatherings. You're watching the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. We'll be back after this break. Welcome back. This is the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. And now to the rest of our stories. Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, has reaffirmed the Parliament's determination to overhaul Nigeria's electricity sector and tackle the persistent challenges that have undermined it for nearly 2 decades. Abbas made this known on Thursday in Abuja at the opening of a legislative investigation into the country's power sector reforms. Represented by the chairman of the House Committee on Environment, Mike Etaba, the Speaker lamented the deterioration of the electricity industry despite several reform initiatives, adding that the 10th House would work closely with relevant government agencies to strengthen power infrastructure and improve service delivery nationwide with direct implications for industrial productivity, social services, and national economic performance. He said despite billions invested and multiple policy interventions since power sector reforms began, Nigerians still grapple with unreliable supply, poor infrastructure, and rising tariffs, stressing that the House has constituted an ad hoc committee to examine every factor hindering progress in the sector and recommend actionable solutions. The Speaker encouraged committee members to carry out their work with diligence and openness and to engage widely with stakeholders. He added that the outcome of the investigation should align with global trends towards sustainable and modern energy solutions by referencing Sustainable Development Goal 7, which advocates universal access to affordable and clean energy. Also speaking, the chairman of the ad hoc committee, Ibrahim Aliyu, said the panel has been tasked with conducting a comprehensive audit of power sector reforms and expenditures from 2007 to 2024 in line with sections 88 and 89 of the 1999 Constitution, while reforms were launched to modernize the sector and stimulate economic growth. Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has probed the factional national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Tanimu Turaki, over his call on United States President Donald Trump to intervene in Nigeria's political affairs. This is coming after police sealed the National Secretariat of the PDP in Abuja over the party's violent leadership tussle, and the sealing of the Secretariat followed a day of heightened tensions at the venue amid a leadership tussle between rival PDP factions. While receiving board members of the South Development Commission, led by its chairman, Chibodum Umuche, at his office, Wike said Turaki's statements posed a threat to national security and accused his PDP faction of ignoring court rulings, which he described as an act of impunity. Turaki said democracy was under threat in Nigeria, in addition to alleged Christian genocide, while Wike said Turaki ought to have been invited for questioning by security agencies and further questioned Turaki's claim of genocide and security agencies had not investigated the matter. Fresh crisis has erupted within the African Democratic Congress ahead of the 2027 elections as a faction loyal to the factional national chairman, Nafiu Bala, won a position heavyweight, including former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, Labour Party's Peter Obi, and former Kaduna State Governor Nasser El-Rufai from hijacking the party. A statement on Thursday by the ADC Board of Trustees, which also passed a vote of confidence on Bala, describing the David Mark-led coalition as an illegal structure backed by a rival leadership. Addressing journalists during a press conference in Abuja, Board of Trustees Secretary Chief Rufus Ekemni condemned what he called an attempt by some individuals who illegally sneaked into the party in the name of a coalition, infesting the ADC with the political spirit of insubordination. The faction also mandated Bala to activate a disciplinary committee to sanction any ADC member found interacting with the listed leaders, insisting the party would not condone any act of lawlessness by its members. Reacting to his endorsement, Bala vowed to uphold the constitution of the party while promising to be fair and objective in his leadership, and also accused members of the coalition of breaching the ADC constitution by operating from a parallel headquarters, adding that the rival group had circumvented the rules governing party operations, the Electoral Act, and the 1999 Constitution, warning that their actions threaten internal democracy. The factional chair also faulted the Independent National Electoral Commission for recognizing Mark as ADC chairman despite him not being a registered member, while the National Publicity Secretary Bolaji Abdullahi said they could not engage the Bala faction in any public debate and dismissed suggestions that the development reflected a deeper realignment within the opposition. U.S. Congressman Riley M. Moore met with the senior Nigerian delegation led by National Security Advisor New Rubado to discuss the alleged escalating persecution of Christians and the growing threat of terrorism in Nigeria. The discussion, described by Moore as frank, honest, and productive, focused on counter-terrorism, security assistance, and protection of vulnerable communities across Nigeria. The U.S. lawmaker, in a statement he shared on X, said the high-level meeting took place in Washington, D.C., and the Nigerian delegation included top officials such as Her Excellency Bianca Ojukwu, Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Mrs. Kayode Egbetokun, Inspector General of Police, Just Chief Lateef Olasunkami Fagbemi, San, Attorney General of the Federation Chief General Olufemi Olatobonsun Oluyede, Chief of Defense Staff Lieutenant General EAP Udendeye, Chief of Defense Intelligence, among others. More stress on the urgent need for concrete action, warning that religious violence cannot continue unchecked, and also highlighted the U.S. commitment to helping Nigeria fight militant groups. He urged the Nigerian government to seize the opportunity to strengthen ties with the United States while urging the Nigerians to work with U.S. cooperation and coordination on this critical issue in securing the nation, including the protection of civilians, combating terrorism, and coordinating with international partners. More underscored that the U.S. will monitor developments closely and expects Nigeria to accept offers of cooperation to end ongoing bloodshed and forced President Bola Tinubu's claims that Nigeria does not encourage religious persecution, insisting that the reality on the ground contradicts the president's public statements. The Nigerian Army has called on Nigerians to support its efforts to defeat terrorists and other security threats. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Y.D. Shaibu, who made the appeal on Thursday at the Nigerian Army Civil Military Cooperation Media Chat for the fourth quarter of 2025 held in Jos Plateau State, said the appeal comes in the wake of fresh insecurity across parts of the country, including the recent attack on the Christ Apostolic Church in Eruku, Ekiti State, government area of Kwara State, where government killed worshippers and abducted several others. The incident, which triggered protests by youth who blocked a major highway, has renewed concerns about rising terrorist and bandit assaults across the north-central. Kwara authorities have since called for urgent security reinforcement, while in Kebbi State, security agencies are still responding to the recent abduction at the girls' secondary school in Maga, Danko, Wasago local government area, where the vice principal of the school was killed and students were kidnapped during a pre-dawn raid. The attack has drawn widespread condemnation and heightened pressure on security forces as rescue efforts continue. Shaibu highlighted the critical role of the media in shaping public opinion and fostering unity of purpose, while urging media practitioners to uphold objective, credible, fair, and responsible reporting on the Nigerian Army's activities. The Army Chief, who was represented by the General Officer Commanding 3 Division Major General E.F. Oyinola, also stressed the need for Nigerians to verify content that could undermine national unity and security before disseminating it to the public to avoid spreading misinformation or inflammatory material often created using artificial intelligence. Federal government has blamed the renewed terror attacks, including the abduction of schoolgirls in Kebbi and the assault on worshippers in Eruku, Kwara State, on recent remarks by United States as public anger over the incidents spread nationwide. Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, said Trump's post alleging Christian genocide in Nigeria and threatening to deploy U.S. troops had inadvertently emboldened opportunistic violent groups now seeking to justify attacks on soft targets, addressing the revolution of violent extremism, banditry, and ongoing security challenges in the country. The SGF said before the statement, insurgency structures had been significantly degraded and reduced to isolated banditry. This is coming after Trump had, in a series of posts on X between October 30 and November 1, 2025, designated Nigeria as a country of particular concern over allegations of a Christian genocide, and the U.S. president warned that he might deploy American forces to Nigeria if the alleged killings of Nigerians did not stop. Killings of Christians, did not stop. Trump also threatened to suspend all U.S. assistance to Nigeria if President Bola Tinubu's administration failed to address the alleged persecution, while the SGF said insurgency networks had previously been significantly weakened and reduced to isolated banditry before the statement. Akume reaffirmed the government's position that Nigeria does not require foreign troops, and the Nigerian armed forces have reclaimed territories and degraded Boko Haram and ISWAP structures, stressing that the country instead needs targeted support from partners, especially in intelligence, technology, and equipment, and the government rejects claims describing the conflict as a Christian genocide, stating that verified evidence shows insurgents and criminal groups have attacked both churches and mosques, killing Muslims and Christians. Federal High Court in Abuja has convicted the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, on 3 of the 7 terrorism charges filed against him by the federal government. Delivering judgment on Thursday, the presiding judge, James Omotosho, cited prosecution evidence, including video interviews in which Kanu made violent threats against Nigeria and its citizens, as the basis for the conviction. This is coming after the judge in charge of the terrorism trial of the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu Justice James Omotosho, has said the judgment could be delivered in the absence of the defendants in cases of unruly behavior. The judge made the statement after Nnamdi Kanu was escorted out of the courtroom on Thursday for challenging one of the rulings, while Kanu had, among other things, prayed the court to grant him bail and urged the court to allow him more time to file his final written address. This followed counter motions filed by the prosecution counsel, Awomolo San, in reply to Kanu's first and second motions, insisting that Kanu's motion for bail was an abuse of court process, and Awomolo further urged the court to dismiss the 3 motions filed by Nnamdi Kanu and Justice Omotosho, subsequently dismissed Kanu's request for a stay of proceedings and refused him bail. The court also dismissed Kanu's motion for more time to file his final written address, while Justice Omotosho frowned at Kanu's unruly behavior, insisting that the court, as an institution and the sanctity of the Temple of Justice, must be respected. Federal government has reaffirmed its commitment to ensuring safer learning environment for Nigerian students through continued support for the Safe School Initiative. The Minister of State for Finance, Doris Uzoka Anese, made this known in Abuja during the 2025 International Students' Day celebration, organized by the Office of the Special Assistant to the President on Student Engagement. A statement from the SA's office on Thursday said government would continue to ensure funding for education, teachers and salaries, school feeding programs, and safe learning environments through initiatives such as a Safe School Initiative. Speaking at this event, the SA on Students' Engagement to the President Sunday, Asefon, stressed on the transformative power of education in nation building, adding that the initiative aligned with President Bola Tinubu's commitments to student welfare and education development. International Students' Day commemorates the 1939 Nazi crackdown on Czech students in Prague, where 9 student leaders were executed and over 1,200 others arrested, and it was declared a global day of student solidarity in 1941. Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors NAD has described as misleading and inaccurate claims by the Federal Ministry of Labour in addressing the union's demands. A statement on Thursday by NAD expressed disappointment at a press release circulated by the Labour Ministry officials on November 19, which suggested that a high percentage of the doctors' grievances had been resolved, while NAD said the ministry's account did not reflect the reality of its negotiations with the government or the conditions that led to the ongoing nationwide strike. The statement said a detailed review conducted during its extraordinary National Executive Council (NEC) meeting on November 17 showed that not a single one of its 19 core demands had been fully met, despite the ministry's contrary claims, while the association argued that what government officials described as progress amounted largely to promises, pending approvals, and newly constituted committees, patterns that the association had said have characterized previous unfulfilled commitments. Doctors challenged the ministry's assertion that payments of the 25%/35% commence review and 2024 accoutrement allowances had commenced up to December 2024, while none of its members across the country had received such payments, adding that statements about reconciling omissions amounted to acknowledgement of unresolved problems. NAD also criticized the ministry's cost statements that issues such as specialist allowances and arrears owed to doctors in federal institutions, including Federal Teaching Hospital Lokoja, FMC Owo, and the University of Ilorin Teaching Hospital were being compiled for submission to the Budget Office. And now to some business news. Central Bank of Nigeria has disowned Zudao Microfinance Bank Limited, describing it as an unlicensed entity operating illegally in the country. A statement shared on X on Thursday, the acting director of corporate communications, Hakama Sidi Ali, said the bank had no regulatory approval to carry out banking activities in violation of the Banks and Other Financial Institutions Act, BOFIA 2020, adding that Section 2 of Paragraph 1 of the law stipulates that no person shall carry on any banking business in Nigeria except it is a company duly incorporated in Nigeria and holds a valid banking license issued by the CBN. The CBN said its attention was drawn to reports that Zudal Microfinance Bank, claiming to operate branches in Lagos, Abuja, Kaduna, and Kano, presented itself as a licensed microfinance institution, and also urged Nigerians to disregard any claims of licensing and avoid engaging in transactions with the firm, warning that dealings with unlicensed operators carry significant risks. Chief Executive of the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, Benga Komolafe says the commission approved about $20 billion worth of field development plans in the last 10 months in line with its ongoing reforms to boost oil production and attract fresh investment into the sector. Komolafe, who was represented by the Deputy Director, Human Resources, Corporate Services and Administration at NUPRC, Efemona Basi, discloses at a two-day strategic media workshop for energy correspondents in Lagos, adding that development was driven by regulatory instruments under the Petroleum Industry Act and further reinforced by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's for far-reaching executive orders. Highlighting recent achievements, he said Nigeria's daily crude oil production has on multiple occasions exceeded 1.7 million barrels per day, adding that the country's rig count had risen to nearly 70, with more than 40 rigs active, stressing that within the last 10 months, the board have approved field development plans worth approximately $20 billion. Komolafe reiterated the Commission's target of boosting national output by an additional 1 million barrels per day, adding that the Commission will conduct another licensing round on December 1, 2025, designed to open new frontiers, unlock fresh businesses, fresh prospects, and further strengthen reserves base. Federal government is projecting nearly $1 billion, about 1.49 trillion naira in annual revenue from electricity exports to 15 West African countries under the Economic Community of West African States sub-region from June 2026. The earnings are based on what a full 600 megawatt export capacity is capable of generating at the prevailing regional tariff as Nigeria pushes towards full participation in the West African power market following a landmark grid synchronization exercise carried out this month. The Minister of Power, Chief Adebayo Adenabu, who spoke at the new revenue stream at a press conference in Abuja, said Nigeria successfully conducted a grid synchronization test with 15 West African countries for 4 hours on November 8, 2025, adding that the development positions Nigeria to fully exploit its strategic role as a regional power hub under the West African power pool, especially as generation companies ramp up compliance with free governor control and operational discipline crucial to regional grid stability. The minister said for 4 uninterrupted hours, power flowed seamlessly across national borders, operating at a single stable frequency and proving that West Africa is now technically capable of functioning as a unified power bloc. And the exercise represents the first time in history that Nigeria has operated in a unified, stable, and fully harmonized configuration with the rest of the sub-region. The Executive Director of Market Operations at the Nigerian Independent System Operator, Edmond Eje, said Nigeria currently allocates 600 megawatts for its bilateral power trade agreement each day, while the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, Nigeria continues to offer the cheapest electricity tariffs in West Africa. And now to international tidbits. All Progressives Congress (APC) in the United States has requested to testify at the U.S. House Subcommittee on Africa as American lawmakers review former President Donald Trump's redesignation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern (CPC) over alleged religious persecution. APC USA, in a letter to the subcommittee chairman, Rep. Chris Smith, said it was prepared to send a high-level delegation to present what it described as first-hand intelligence and verifiable data on Nigeria's security realities. Chairman of the APC USA, Professor Tai Balofin, who confirmed the request in a statement in Abuja, said the group hoped to provide clarity on what it views as misconceptions surrounding Nigeria's security challenges, adding that the proposed testimony would also highlight what the group sees as security gains under President Bola Tinubu's administration. The APC USA delegation also plans to recommend deeper U.S.-Nigeria cooperation on security, intelligence sharing, and humanitarian support. Donald Trump has signed into law legislation requiring the release of government records on convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, spurring a showdown over whether the U.S. president will allow full disclosure or return to trying to bury the case. Trump shocked Washington over the weekend, reversing his months-long opposition to the Epstein Files Transparency Act and ensuring that it sailed through Congress on Tuesday in a rare show of bipartisan unity. The Republican president, a former friend of the late sex offender, declared on social media that he had signed the bill foregoing any media spectacle of the event, stressing that his administration could lean on reductions, procedural delays, or lingering federal investigations to keep explosive details out of the public eye. This is coming after Epstein, a wealthy financier, moved in elite circles for years, cultivating close ties with business tycoons, politicians, academics, and celebrities to whom he was accused of trafficking girls and young women for sex, while Trump and his allies spent years pushing theories about powerful Democrats being protected over involvement with Epstein, framing the case as a potent symbol of how powerful men can hide behind lawyers, money, and connections. U.S. military says senior Pentagon officials have arrived in Ukraine to discuss efforts to end the war with Russia, and the team, led by U.S. Army Secretary Dan Scroll, is expected to meet Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in Kyiv. This is coming after the U.S. and Russia had prepared a new framework peace plan requiring significant concessions from Ukraine, including giving up territory and state controls and dramatically cutting the size of its military. But neither Washington nor Moscow has officially confirmed the plan drafted by President Donald Trump's envoy Steve Witkoff and Russian Special Envoy Dmitry. However, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio wrote on X that achieving a durable peace will require both sides to agree to difficult but necessary concessions, and will continue to develop a list of potential ideas for ending the war based on input from both sides of the conflict. EU Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas also warned that for any plan to work, it would need to have Ukrainians and Europeans on board, while the French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot said the Ukrainians do not want any form of capitulation, adding that reports of a US-Russia peace plan emerged on the day at least 26 people were killed in a Russian missile and drone attacks on blocks of flats in Ukraine's western city of Ternopil, including 22 people were missing at the site. Russia launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022, while President Zelensky was in Turkey at the time of the Ternopil attack, and unconfirmed Ukrainian reports suggested that talks had been planned with Trump's envoy in Ankara but were called off. Pope Leo has appointed Monsignor Anthony Onyebuchi Ekpo as Assessor for General Affairs in the Vatican Secretariat of State, and until his elevation, Ekpo served as Undersecretary of the Dicastery for Promoting Integral Human Development. Messenger Ekpo, a priest of the Umahia Diocese, was born in Umudike on 24 September 1931 and ordained on 30 July 2011, and the appointment is the second major Vatican role given to a Nigerian this month. Earlier, Pope Leo named Father Edward Daleng of Plateau State as Vice-Regent of the Prefecture of the Pontifical Household, where he would help coordinate the Pope's non-liturgical activities and engagement. Ekpo holds degrees in systematic theology and canon law and joined the Holy See on 5 September 2016 as an official in the section for general affairs. He became Under-Secretary of the Dicastery for Promoting Integral Human Development on 18 April 2023. Here now is A10 Sports News. Team Nigeria has increased its gold medal tally at the ongoing 6th Islamic Solidarity Games in Riyadh after winning 2 gold medals in wrestling and the women's 4x100-meter relay. A statement issued on Thursday by Kola Daniel, Special Advisor to the Director General of the National Sports Commission, Bukola Olapade, said in the 53 kg freestyle wrestling final, Christina Ogunsanya defeated her Uzbekistan opponent Shokida Medova 11-1 in convincing fashion to claim the gold medal. Nigeria's existing young quartet of Bada Doyin, Etechukwu Miracle, Omokwe Maria, and Nweke Cynthia later crowned the night with an excellent display to win gold in the women's 4x100-meter relay in a time of 44.27 seconds, and they pushed Bahrain to the silver medal position with 44.47 seconds, while Gambia finished third in 45.5 seconds. In the women's 400-meter, Patience George finished second behind her Bahraini opponent, while in the men's 4x100-meter, the team of John Caleb, Chidera Ezeoko, Ezekiel Asoko, and James Emmanuel finished third. In wrestling, Mycenae Genesis lost a gold medal match in the women's 50 kg freestyle final to Aktenge Kunimjave of Uzbekistan. 5-1 settling for silver, while Olapade commended the performance of the athletes and encouraged them to remain focused and disciplined ahead of other major international competitions. Team Nigeria has now won a total of 8 gold, 10 silver, and 7 bronze medals, with more expected in para-athletics and para-powerlifting. George Cardi, the agent who brokered Victor Osimhen's transfer from Napoli to Galatasaray, says the striker is happy at the club. Osimhen spent the 2024 and 25 season on loan with the Galatasaray before joining Turkish Super League champions on a permanent transfer at this summer, and the Nigerian international has recently been linked with top clubs like Barcelona and Paris Saint-Germain. Gadi, however, said the striker is not thinking of leaving Turkey at the moment. Newly appointed Atlanta head coach Rafael Palladino says Ademola Lookman remained a central figure at the club. Lookman's future with Lade remained uncertain after he pushed to leave the club for Inter Milan in the summer, and the winger was involved in the touchline role with former head coach Ivan Juric earlier this month. The Nigeria international has been linked with a January exit from the club, while Atlanta will be away to Champions Napoli on Saturday. Former England striker Wayne Rooney has picked his top 3 performance in the Premier League so far this season, and they are Manchester United forward Brian Mbeumo, Arsenal's Victor Gyökeres, and Antoine Semenyo of Bournemouth. Rooney disclosed this Thursday morning. He also commended Gyökeres. And now entertainment news. Famous US rapper Nicki Minaj has urged fans to be more supportive to improve Nigerian artists. This is coming after some Nigerian artists have been under intense criticism this week, with fans accusing Burna Boy of being arrogant and ungrateful after he jokingly said he wants only rich fans. Yemi Alade also came under fire after she protested against suggestions of an American intervention in the escalating insecurity in Nigeria. Reacting to the bandwagon of criticisms against Nigerian artists, Nicki Minaj pleaded with fans to utilize wisdom and compassion in their criticisms and argued that critics would see things differently if they access artists from a place of comprehension rather than judgment. Prominent gospel singer Nathan Ebasi and Pastor Jerry Eze have called for urgent action against rising insecurity in Nigeria, urging the government and security agencies to tackle terrorism, banditry, and kidnappings. A statement on social media by Pastor Eze praying against perpetrators and their sponsors, describing banditry, terrorism, and wickedness as the bane of the country, also stressed on the need for accountability and decisive action, and further urged the government, armed forces, intelligence agencies, and citizens to unite in confronting criminals. The call from the religious leaders follows recent violent incidents across the country, including the attack on the Christ Apostolic Church Parish in Eruku, Kwara State, where suspected bandits killed at least 2 people, and the abduction of 25 students from Government Girls Comprehensive School, Secondary School, Maga in Kebbi State, during which a staff member was killed. The attacks have drawn widespread condemnation, with other prominent figures in the entertainment industry, including actors and comedians, also urging the government to take immediate steps to address insecurity. Miss Jamaica Dr. Gabrielle Henry has been rushed to hospital after she stumbled off the stage during the Miss Universe competition. The Jamaica representative fell from the stage during the Miss Universe preliminary evening gown round in Thailand, and a viral video on social media captured the moment Gabrielle Henry was strolling across the stage in a long orange gown before falling off the stage. The clip from the pageant shows when she was being taken away from the venue to the hospital on a stretcher. Confirming the incident, the Miss Universe organization in a statement said Henry is currently receiving treatment at Paolo Rang City Hospital in Thailand. And that's the global news for tonight. Before we go, another look at the major stories. Fubara dismisses claims of insecurity in River State. Wike probes Suraki over unguarded comment. Court convicts Nnamdi Kanu of terrorism offenses. NUPRC approves $20 billion field development plans. Trump signs bill requiring Epstein files relief, and Team Nigeria wins gold in wrestling athletics. Nicki Minaj calls for support to improve Nigeria's artist. I am Fable. Chikwashiri Michael. Thank you for watching. You can follow us on social media platforms, on Facebook and on Twitter at Atlantic TV Net, on Facebook and YouTube at Atlantic Television Network, on Instagram at Atlantic TV Network. And don't forget, peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Do have a pleasant night rest.
From the lines across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains.